My first Pokemon game was Pokemon Diamond, so you could say that I'm a bit of a Generation 4 homer. It's what got me into the series, and of course, you know, when the announcement last year that a remake was coming out, that was pretty exciting for me because, you know, I'm all for nostalgia and all of that. So, here we are, roughly a year later, and what I have to say is that I'm actually happy that a Gen 4 remake came out. I actually just finished 100%ing it this week. I got the 5-star trainer card, etc. for completing the Pokédex. I like the game. Like, I enjoyed playing it. It was good to get to go through the Sinnoh region again. But, again, I have to reiterate that the experience was a little bit disappointing. And it's not because it wasn't fine. It's not because I didn't have fun. It's not that I'm even, like, not grateful that a game came out or anything. It just felt like it could be so much more. And that's kind of been a problem I've had with the Pokemon series for a while now. I don't care about the art style or any of that. Matter of fact, I think I actually prefer how the art style is than it is in the newer games. I mean, it surely could have been, you know, more polished, but like the direction that they went with, I thought was fine. I'm not even like that wrapped up on graphics and all of that. For me, I play games because I want the best gameplay options because, you know, that's what you play games for, the gameplay and all of that. That's what I buy them for. But, you know, the problem I think with BDSP and a lot of Nintendo's design philosophy in general is about what they prioritize and their mindset, if you will. So, for a little bit of background, I kind of don't play Pokemon anymore. I got BDSP because, you know, nostalgia rush. I wanted to replay the old games on the new system, get to experience it again with friends and all that. It was a fun time. But back in the day, I used to, you know, transfer all my old Pokemon up through every generation because I wanted to have them in all the new generations. And because I no longer really love Pokemon, I kind of stopped doing that back in Generation 6. And now I kind of have, like, a bunch of Pokemon on there that, like, I kind of want to, you know, move up to Generation 4 remakes and just kind of leave it there. This was going to be my final big game, I guess. I skipped Sword and Shield for the first time ever. I didn't like Sun and Moon very much, and there was just so much controversy before the game came out. You know, there was like the whole National Dex stuff, and you know, like the graphics and all of that. And as I mentioned, I'm not really a graphics guy, but it just felt very low effort. I just kind of felt like staying away, and I did. So, in 2022, I wish Pokemon was better. I kind of feel like there's a timeline where it's still good, and it's just not my cup of tea anymore, but I don't really feel like it's that right now. Matter of fact, I kind of think that they just don't put in, like, obvious features that need to be there. And this is something I've noticed across, like, all the Nintendo games, all the big, you know, multiplayer Nintendo games and all that. We'll get into a little bit of that later. Really, it's just all about the money. We all know that. There are some things that they do that, quite frankly, are just stupid. Like, event legendaries are one of them. Like, I don't understand why we have to specifically download something at a certain time. It's like they want us to buy it early just with the fear of missing out or something like that. There's other things, like you can get Jirachi or Mew or Arceus based off of like what other games you bought. Really, like every game is designed for you to get it as quickly as possible and for you to have other games just so you can get like one extra thing in these games. And again, of course, there's the whole still doing multiple versions kind of thing in 2022 because we want to have version exclusives. Because they know that there's still going to be a large chunk of people that buy both. So we have all these really weird ideas that are kind of archaic but are still in because they feel they make money. Even though it's going to make so much money to begin with, I don't think it's worth losing credibility. But I think the truth of the matter is that most players are just casual and are going to buy it anyway, so why not, I guess. The question I have, though, is if you're going to, you know, not really care about, like, things like this, why do you care so much about controlling how players play to begin with? And this really goes back to the whole box duplication thing, which is, like, kind of the thing that I wanted to talk about. So when this game came out, this remake, there were a lot of glitches. Mainly done through this thing called the menu glitch, and what it would allow you to do is walk while you were in a menu, organize your boxes while in a menu. There was menuception, pretty much. And you could use this to duplicate Pokemon and duplicate items and all of that. And it's something I did quite a bit, actually. It was convenient. And the thing is like, it's clearly an accident and all of that, but I kind of just want to know, like, out of all the things for Nintendo, or I guess Game Freak or Ilka, whoever it is, for all the things for them to really crack down on and go hard on, why are we so focused on stripping away an accident like box duplication that doesn't really affect other players before, finishing Pokemon Home? Because, Pokemon Home is a feature that was promised at launch. It's something I'm still waiting for. I want to transfer my old Gen 4 Pokemon back to the Sinnoh region. And we can't do that. It's been almost half a year since the game came out. And there's been multiple updates and all of it, but I don't understand why we have to wait for Pokemon Home, yet they're so dead set on patching out glitches and stuff that aren't really harming anybody. So the thing about Pokemon is, it's like, I kind of feel like I'm not actually just being like, not a Gen 1er, but like for Gen 4. Because I took a break playing after Gen 4 initially. I went back and played all the old games. And I didn't buy Gen 5 when it came out. And then eventually Gen 5 did come out. And I played it and I thought it was really good. And that's why I feel like I'm not just being, a boomer with the, franchise and all of that. Because I remember actually liking new games after I came back that I didn't play in childhood. And even though I wasn't a big fan of Generation 6, I really appreciate that gen for making player-friendly changes that made me hopeful for the future back then. But almost everything that they added into Generation 6 feels like they kind of just got rid of it. Except for things that aren't really super needed and stuff. There are a few things that were good to stay, like, the Destiny knot, making, 5 IV Pokemon, something that you could easily get still. But, the thing that I really liked about Generation 6 were things like triple battles and, O powers and, the cafes and all that kind of stuff. Because realistically speaking, you could actually, breed perfect Pokemon and get them up to extremely high levels very quickly. Just because, triple battles and, the cafes and no powers. One thing I would do to grind levels and stuff was, you would have these O powers that would boost the amount of experience points you get. And then you would have these cafes where you could fight, 5 high-level trainers in a row, and you could do triple battles in that. And if you combine all of them together, you could pretty much level up something from 1 to 50 in, a matter of, 5 to 10 minutes. It was kind of cool. And I thought that features like this actually made competitive play viable in the actual game, which is something I didn't actually expect would ever happen. And I thought that was awesome. But Gen 7 rolls around and they just kind of decide, well, we don't really want to do any of this anymore. And that was really sad for me, because once I got to the post game, it's like, well, I don't really want to do the grind and stuff because Showdown just exists. So why can't we just use that? So Gen 7 I didn't really like, kind of like Gen 6, but they stripped away all the good features that they added, and it was a gigantic buzzkill. What kind of felt like, a punch in the face, I guess, is they added this thing called bottle caps, which in theory should be convenient because they allow you to, have Pokemon that don't have perfect stats, and they allow them to have perfect stats, and that seems like, a good change that would make competitive play even easier. But the catch is that the Pokemon have to be level 100 to actually use those, and they kind of took away every possible way to really, get to level 100 really quickly. And this is just disappointing to me, because, the Diamond and Pearl remakes come out, and I'm thinking, alright, how do you level grind in this game? And I'm looking up videos, and the way you level grind, according to these videos, is by fighting this trainer with 2 Gyarados, and that's something I did back in 2007 to grind, which took hours upon hours and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, this is archaic. This should not be the way that you grind in 2022, especially considering that they fixed this in 2013. My problem with this remake is that it's more inconvenient than ever. I didn't actually like Gen 6, as I've mentioned, but I appreciate the quality of life features. And it would have been great to enjoy, a nostalgic remake where the games actually had what Gen 4 didn't have, which would be, competitive convenience. Things that we're nostalgic for, we typically remember in a better light than they actually were. But ironically, if you added the convenience, you actually would have improved the games and justified said nostalgia in these games. Now, we'll return to this topic near the end, but my biggest issue with Nintendo in this remake is they nearly fixed this convenience problem, but on accident. And that's where the duplication glitch really comes in. As mentioned, the glitch is pretty crazy. Not only could you duplicate Pokemon, but items, or you could completely break the game by speedrunning with the menu glitch. Like, the speedruns were insane. Like, the game is so broken that you could finish a speedrun in probably less time than this video. But because you could actually duplicate boxes of things like rare candies or ability patches, you could save hours upon hours of time on grinding. And that's actually amazing. If you really think about it, it's like, they made an inconvenient game where you couldn't even level grind, but because of box duplication glitches, you could feasibly still have level 100 Pokemon without that much effort. And you wouldn't have to just grind Fisherman Alec for, 20 hours just to get one thing to level 100, and that's good. Pokemon games have always loved wasting your time, because, like, if you want to buy a single rare candy, well, you need 48 BP for that, so have fun battling for 2 hours just to buy an item to level up your Pokemon once. It's not even worth it, and don't even get me started on shiny hunting. As someone who finds it pointless and time-wasting, I think they should just increase the odds of finding a shiny to, like, 1 in 1,000. It's still rare enough, but that's besides the point. But anyway, it's like Nintendo just wants everyone to play Showdown instead of their actual games, because it's so much easier to battle on that platform than on their actual games. And because that's true, I think that something's really wrong here. I really liked Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire because of the lack of the convenience issues. I was a Hoenn fan, and I got to cash in on the X and Y features from Gen 6. And I just wish that these remakes were the same, because tasks were doable in that game. With that being said, like, even those games were still a little bit disappointing, because, they just didn't have features for some reason, but, to a lesser degree. Now, it's easy to see ORAS in a more positive light now, but this problem should still not be ignored just because they stripped away even more from Gen 4's remakes. I think that version exclusives, like mentioned, started as a cute little drawl to trading, but these days it's clearly just a cash grab to get people to buy both versions, and because of it, they still do it for remakes. So they make like remakes for Ruby and Sapphire or Diamond and Pearl, and that means that they don't have to do the Platinum features like the Battle Frontier, and they don't have to justify not doing the Battle Frontier because it's not a remake of Platinum after all. And it's the same thing with ORAS where they wouldn't do the Battle Frontier, and it's just really disappointing. They added the GWS even. It's not even like just that like they're butchering some of the other features also. Like they add like the GWS, which is supposed to be like the GTS, but it's just Wonder Trades, and you can't even really search for what you need, and it's just like, I don't get it. Why do we just have to have worse versions of things? Like, I don't understand what what the problem is with like putting in just a little bit of effort to have convenient features for, your customers. So why do we have to play things the way that they want us to play things? I just don't understand it whatsoever. Like, even Heart Gold and Soul Silver also, it's like, those were the best remakes because they had features that weren't even in the originals, like Gen 4's Battle Frontier, and that was cool. But anyways, I want to talk about Super Mario 64 for a second, because, there's like this thing called backwards long jumping. I can't do it because I can't match, but they patched them out in a lot of versions. I think it's patched out on NSO. I don't, actually maybe not, but it is on 3D All-Stars, I think. I don't know the exact details, but I know they tried patching it out, and it's like, who is this actually helping? Like, the casual player is just going to play their one-player game without doing it, and it's not going to affect the experience, but by patching it out, you're literally just, kind of sticking it to speedrunners and people who are interested in that stuff for no reason. Like, why can't people play a single player the way they want to play the game? Like, they literally purchased the game, why can they not just play how they want? Even if Pokemon technically is multiplayer, if the exploits are still creating legal battle Pokemon, what's the issue? Some of us have things to do outside of level grind all day, and being able to take shortcuts is appreciated. It's not like using these exploits that were in the original game are giving people an advantage in battles. It's simply slicing in half a completely ridiculous time barrier to entry. Now, if it wasn't for the exploits giving me a massive head start, I think I wouldn't have bothered to even play this game long term. It's just sad to me that there once were options to make battling more reasonable, and they took them out. And even endgames where, like, exploits affect the gameplay, it can still be for the better. Like, look at Melee. It was an accident of a game as well, and it's one of the world's greatest esports for precisely that reason. And casual players still love it. Like, it's crazy. Like, it's amazing if you just, like, let stuff, be fun. They can still be fun and not really ruin people's day. This game has sadly told me everything I need to know about Nintendo, not that I didn't know it already. And it's like, they want you to play games, products that you purchased, their way. What's sad to me is that they've spent more time working on patching exploits in this game that decreased convenience than actually putting out necessary features, such as Pokemon Home support. I have a duplicated Ditto in the daycare right now, and I noticed the other day if I remove it that I can't put it back in. I still have a working non-duplicated one, but seriously, like, why do you care so much to, like, prevent me from using, like, a duplicated Ditto in the daycare? Like, why does this bother you so much? Like, who is this hurting? I haven't even battled anybody online outside, and even if I do, it's just going to be friends that know I do it, so it's like, what is actually the issue here? I don't understand. Like, do you just want us to have a painful time creating competitive sets in, like, the middle of the game? This stuff just turns me off of, like, the series so much now. And it's like, can you just give us home support so we can continue enjoying your game instead of, like, trying to strip us of things? Now, I got what I needed before updating my game, so, like, as a result, like, I'm still fine. Like, I still got all the things that I needed. It's not going to affect me. It's just more so just, like, the mindset and mentality that I kind of just wanted to rant about today. Like, I'm not going to need to grind 200 BP just to acquire an ability patch. The update doesn't affect me. But the priorities just feel so messed up. These games could be so much better if they were just focused on adding good features as opposed to trying to control everything. And, you know, like, what happens if they get rid of Showdown? Like, they're literally just, like, they could technically take it down. I don't think they will, but, like, they've made questionable decisions before. And if they do that, they're effectively just killing their own game, it feels like. I don't get why they would want to do that. And it doesn't really just stop with Pokemon. Like, why remove the tournament or missions mode and versus mode from Mario Kart 7? Why make Salmon Run sometimes unavailable for no reason in Splatoon 2? Why is Toad Circuit visually worse than Mario Circuit made 8 years earlier in the same game? Why can't we just have GameCube games on Virtual Console? Wouldn't it have been cool if the groups feature in the Diamond and Pearl remakes actually updated to work with players online, or would that have made too much sense? Why is Super Smash Bros. Mysteriously absent from the expansion pack? Is it to lower expectations for Melee, since they know they can't compete with Slippy? And of course, you know, speaking of Slippy, you know, the Big House takedowns, this was a problem created by Nintendo. Like, if they just had a playable way to play Melee online and stuff, maybe this wouldn't be an issue, but they never did that. So instead, when there was a pandemic, they punished players that had no other way to play the game by taking down their tournament. Like, it's just ridiculous. Now, if, like, Nintendo were to bring Melee to the Switch, the focus would likely be more on how to prevent wave dashing than actually giving it, like, rollback or good online also. So, I don't know. I wish it would change. I know it's not, but I just wanted to talk about it because, man, this is frustrating. Tell me how you feel. I'm just sad because I want to enjoy Pokemon, but I don't see a future where that's going to happen. Like, part of me likes the process of, you know, like, creating competitive sets and stuff, maybe even more than using them. But it's just like, I don't want to spend literally days upon days with this being, like, the only thing that I need to do. Or, like, I don't want to spend days doing the same mundane task over and over. Like, it's just not worth it. So, yeah. The way they've operated with BDSP is disappointing. I still like the game. I'm still happy they made it. But, man, we could be living in a timeline that's just so much better. But anyway, with that, this video is a wrap, and we will see you in the next one.